Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon again. We want to thank you for joining us for our very first opportunity to meet and greet one of 4 finalists for the position of Chancellor of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Certainly this is history in the making. I can't think of a better time of the year for Black History Month to meet and greet our new candidates. And so we'll be meeting very soon. The first one, Dr. Robert Mack, Jr. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge our interim chancellor, Dr. Andrea Stewart, also all of our UAPB faculty, staff, and certainly our students. For without them, we would not be here. So thank you for being here. I'd like to take time to recognize our elected officials. At this time, are there any federal elected officials? And if you're here, please stand and be recognized. Any federal elected officials? Are there any elected officials from our state? Please stand and be recognized. Our state elected officials. Thank you for being here. And the city of Pine Bluff. We'd like to recognize any and all of our elected officials from the city of Pine Bluff. Thank you. And any county elected officials from Jefferson County. If you are here, please stand and be recognized. Again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for braving the cold weather and allowing us to alter the schedule due to the weather. We thank you for being here. And those of you that are watching via YouTube, we appreciate our social media and the audience that may be joining us from across the country to share in this opportunity to get to know our first candidate better. We'd like to acknowledge also the presence on the stage of our Student Government Association President, Caleb Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd like to come and rally the students who are here and those that may be watching via social media. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being here. Like you said, this is truly monumental. This is the next phase of our campus as things begin to change. We had some things with the weather yesterday, so I thank you all for coming out and making time today. For all the students here, this is your chance to ask questions and have a voice and say the next leader of this campus. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to make statements. This is your chancellor. This is your next chancellor. One of 4 candidates up here on the stage today. So I just thank you so much, students, for coming out. I know there's classes and different things going on campus today. Thank you, people from the community as well. Your voice is also necessary in this process. Your voice to be heard of the next chancellor, of alumni, the city of Pine Bluff, people to come out and talk to one of 4 candidates. So thank you so much for coming out here today and get back to the program. Oh yes, right here on the second row here we have some more members of the Student Government Association. Our Vice President, Ariane Wallace. Our Chief of Staff, Chloe Brackens. The freshman class president. Sophomore class president. The freshman class president. Thank you so much again for coming out. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Mr. UAPB as well.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And we want to also recognize our alumni in the room and across the country. Thank you so much for your input. It is important, and we thank you for your presence. And now let's meet Dr. Mack Jr., Dr. Robert Mack Jr. Dr. Robert Mack Jr. is currently the Executive Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Chief of Staff at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, an 1890 public land grant HBCU. He previously worked as an associate plant manager for Illinois Tool Works in Augusta, Arkansas, and a quality control manager with Pepsi Cola Company in St. Louis, Missouri. Dr. Mack served as a hospital administrative officer in the Arkansas Army National Guard as a captain from 2002 to 2010. During this time at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, he served as interim Division I athletic director and interim vice president for enrollment management and student experience. He previously served as president of Johnson and Wales University Charlotte campus in North Carolina. Dr. Mack also served as vice president for student affairs at the University of Kentucky, where he held teaching appointments in the colleges of communications and education. Dr. Mack was the vice provost for student affairs and assistant vice chancellor for student affairs at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, and also director of recruitment and retention, associate dean in the College of Professional Studies, and faculty in the Speech Communications Department at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Dr. Mack earned an engineering degree from Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville and a master's degree in interpersonal and organizational communication and a doctorate in higher education administration from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Please help me welcome our first finalist as Chancellor for the position, none other than Dr. Robert Mack, Jr.
Thank you all for that applause. It's an honor to be before you today. I feel very fortunate and grateful for this opportunity. And I will try to do my best today to answer your questions when we get to the Q&A period. I certainly will get a chance to do this. I also have to acknowledge all the individuals out there in social media world who are watching. I really appreciate the support that is behind me, both at the University of Eastern Shore, where I currently work, and all the institutions I worked at here in the state of Arkansas. It was never me alone, it was always a team. And actually, today there should be a team of people standing behind me as I begin to talk about some of the things that I'll say and truth of the matter is, it should be a we. Because there's a choir of individuals that you cannot see who helped do, along with me, all of those things that the young lady just read. So I must make sure that I get I will be a good judicial steward of your time. I'm told I have to 2:45. And so I'm going to do that portion of 2:45. Before that, I may even stop and give you the opportunity to ask me some questions and answers. Is that okay? All right. So I am very proud of the work that I've done over my life. If it wasn't for my wife and my family, I wouldn't be standing before you today. I've been married for 30 years to a wonderful woman lady. She and I have 2 children. She is the love of my life, and I've been fortunate to have her to be my wife and on my side for the last 30 years. We have 2 children, 24-year-old architect in Charlotte, North Carolina. I always talk about how she is financially launched. Financially launched. And so we're working on the next one. Our son, he's 17 years old and about to be graduating high school a year early. He's supposed to graduate in May. So without further ado, I'll tell you just a few things that's not on my resume. I think that you need to hear some of those things like I just mentioned before. But I'm born and raised Christian. And I'm trying to go to heaven, but not tomorrow or today, soon. Been raised in the church and very fortunate to be raised in the church that one of your alums is now pastor. Pastor Ricky Parks, who plays football here. He's the pastor of my church in my hometown in Urbana, Illinois. And my mother made sure, she said, boy, when you get up there on the stage, you make sure you mention Pastor Parks' name. And so I make sure that I really did get an opportunity to do that. But I digress, and I'll let you understand that I'm a person to see myself as a transformational servant leader. I've spent my life trying to do those things, and I will continue to do those things if I get an opportunity to serve with you at this glorious institution. You can tell by my background that I've spent a lot of time in the state of Arkansas. My children are native Arkansans, and I have spent a lot of time working at the different universities in this state and traveling the highways and byways in this state, trying to make a difference for people who were trying to get an education. I stopped building facilities several years ago, and started on a 30-year trajectory up to this day to stop building facilities, to start building people. And that's what I think that I'm good at. I will continue to try to do that, be transparent, transformational servant leader my entire time, if you want to serve with you. But if not, know that I did my best, and I really appreciate you all giving me the opportunity and those who engage me so far. I also have to say thank you to all the staff that have made this a logistical, easy, smooth process. Individuals in the research committee, individuals who represent the chancellor's office, and all the logistics that we under. I will not read from the slides to you today, right? I'm just going to have them up there so you can see what the question is that they gave me, and then I will start to march through some of those slides. The UAPB way. So this year, we're going to celebrate the 135th anniversary of the Second Morrill Act, the 1890 institution. Senator Morrill, you see, 135 years ago, the actions that we need to move forward as an 1890 land-grant institution, the path moving forward is going to be a little rough, as we're dealing with it right now. And you can tell, based on some of the things that has happened nationwide with higher education. And our 1890 land-grant institutions are no different. We begin to suffer as well. This particular slide looks back at the 125th and 130th anniversary, and you can see some of those individuals are presidents and deans of those schools because with the ag mission that the 1890 land grants have, we get the state and federal match. And if we don't get it, we need to start getting it. And I understand here in Arkansas that now we're starting to get the actual one-to-one match. But historically, we didn't always get there, quite honestly. And so as we look back at the 125th and 130th anniversary, we're on the 135th. We could do this about every 5 years. We'll make a big deal. And this is what we're trying to do as we move forward. And I say we because there's an audience of people that should be working. The 1890 Strategic Roadmap, agriculture, food, natural resources, and you can see some of the agency tags that I've placed in there as well. These are organizations that help with that mission, that service, that outreach, the extension offices throughout the different counties of the state. Making a difference is helping our food supply, helping increase the probability of solving the issues we have currently. As you all know, the price of eggs is high, has a lot to do with the avian bird flu. We're trying to solve some of those things at our institutions, and the 1890 should be the front of that. The cooperative extension centers. We have a roadmap to help those areas grow and develop and make a difference to help all of us move the mission of our 1890 land-grant institutions. There are only 19 of them, so you're special. We're just not a traditional HBCU. We're historically black HBCU. 1890 land-grants, only 19 of them. And so we're very fortunate to be among those special groups. Part of the roadmap is cooperation in the extension centers and national imperative. We're trying to need to increase the investment in expertise and partnerships. We need to find the most direct way to do this by increasing the investment in the cooperative extension and research areas. We need to work collaboratively with other individuals to try to figure out financial ways to support the essential essence of what we're trying to do, which is to solve the problems inside of our own state here in Arkansas and throughout the nation where those institutions are located. Those ag research institutions make a big difference in our society in terms of our growth, development, and health and welfare in our society. This roadmap continues to have extension leaders that have developed close to your goals and ambition in research. The 6 pillars that we're trying to make happen makes a big difference as we move forward as an 1890 land-grant institution, getting the appropriate match that we're supposed to have so that we can make that impact, reach students where they are, so they can grow, develop, and that research can help move our society in a positive way. Our food supply is important and dependent on the research that we do at our 1890 land-grant institutions. The fishery program you have here is second to none. The aquaculture program is second to none. I've been fortunate to work at a place, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, that is equally impressive. We have some great research going on that campus, and I'm proud to be a part of the team to see us to continue to do more. Our Dean Cairo there is excellent in this particular area, and those deans meet on a regular basis, those 1890 deans and the presidents of those 1890 institutions. I am fortunate to be able to share the space with the president, Dr. Heidi M. Anderson, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and she currently has a leadership role among all the 1890 institutions. So if I get an opportunity to serve with you here, I will have the front row seat to the young lady that happens to be the leader of our 1890 President's Organization. And so the president is changed for chancellor, depending on the institution. We're trying to invest in the future, have our extensions be professional, and work together across cutting-edge research and resulting in the practice of solving some of our issues with food safety, the workforce, climate resilience, and health. And some of those communities that suffer the most are oftentimes rural communities. Another thing we have in common, I currently work at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, is located in a rural environment. Very similar to Pine Bluff, much smaller than Pine Bluff, actually. But it's a rural community. And with the rural mission, we have to understand that farmers and the individuals that provide food for our plate to table, our meals, make an impact on the health and welfare of all of us in this country. So it makes a big difference that the 1890s voice is held high and heard loud and clear as it echoes throughout this country that we live in. The roadmap has these pieces: nutrition and health, the 4-H program. Where is Tiki? Okay, there you go. You have a question for me. Don't forget to give me that question if you get a chance to ask it earlier. The community economic development, sustainable food systems, water resilience, and climate solutions. All of those things are heavily impacted by what we do at these 1890 land-grant institutions. Impacting those pieces. Tiki, it's like you wrote this slide for me. So what we're trying to do is make a difference in the lives of people. And all of us have to eat. But we're going to make certain that there is a healthy food supply. So I started my career at Pepsi Cola Company, which is a part of PepsiCo, which included Taco Bell, Frito-Lay, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Pizza Hut. All of those made up PepsiCo. Pepsi-Cola is only a part of those. So having an early background in the food industry gave me great insight to what manufacturing, production, understanding the P&L is. It's important to note that about 15 years ago, if I was standing in front of you, I would have not talked that much about my corporate background. But our society has changed. Now higher ed needs to understand that we are an economic engine, that we can learn some things from corporate America about efficiency and effectiveness, and throughput, and quality assurance, and so in key performance indicators. Because our culture is changing, higher ed needs to change, and we need to change with it. And I think a little bit of that corporate experience, along with our military background as a hospital administrator, understanding the health and welfare of our society, those things help make me a good, if not a great, candidate to be chancellor at the University of Arkansas. I will pull on all of those resources. I will reach out to the relationships that I've developed when I was at the other institutions, both in higher education and in the military and in the elected officials. Some of them are still in positions of authority in Little Rock. Because I've built those relationships over time, I will continue to utilize those things to help push UAPB's agenda forward to make a difference in the society for our students who need some help and guidance as we move forward in our country. The cooperative extension, these are the 6 pillars I mentioned to you previously: nutrition and health, 4-H youth development programs, sustainable food systems, community economic development, which is what UAPB in Pine Bluff needs. There's no secret. I was doing a training at the Criminal Justice Institute in in Little Rock in December. I had already applied to be chancellor here. Didn't know if I was going to get to the interview stage. So I decided to come to campus and do a little reconnaissance, some of my training from the military. So I drove around campus in December after I was done doing my training on one particular day. Got out the car and talked to some students, walked in some buildings, got some feedback from individuals that work here, and that gave me a little bit of understanding of what people were dealing with, both the good and the not so good. And so that gave me a little bit of chance. I thought it was important that I mentioned to you that transparency of that I have been here recently. I've been on your campus recently. It's not like I left here in 2010 and haven't been back since. So I came here in December. I will also return to this state in April where I'll be doing another training for Criminal Justice Institute. And then in June. So guess what? If I'm selected as chancellor, I'll be coming back to campus before I start to work. It'll give me an opportunity to see what the progress has been made. Are we making any movements? What has happened since I had the opportunity to apply and interview for the job here? Climate solutions, water resilience. We need to deal with those particular things. But the issue of not having clean water is an international problem. It's one of the things that makes people unhealthy in other countries in terms of our water table that we have to deal with. So we need to clean that. When I worked at Pepsi-Cola, I had helped install the first reverse osmosis system in the Pepsi-Cola system at the St. Louis plant. Before we had an old sand and gravel treatment facility. So I understand water quality and how important it is for the health and welfare of our society. The research priorities here are bold transformation for 2025. You can see some of them there. But to ensure the local global food and nutritional society, we're trying to assist the rural community to create a prosperous and to pursue the economic development. And we're trying to advance innovations in a way that helps our food, energy, and all of our water. This is what we do at 1890 Land Grant Institutions. We are trying to make a difference in the lives of the health and welfare of people who are not even on our campus. Those people that contribute to the farm system, the fisheries, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We're concerned with the bay because we have a research center that's located on the bay, the Chesapeake Bay. We're dealing with the blue catfish that is an invasive species that is eating up way too many of our natural items that are inside the bay. In Arkansas, we have other issues. So the point is that land grant mission is making a difference and it is touching each one of us in our own societal way. Some of the core programs associated with extensions. Small farms are being brought up by large ones. Agriculture and natural resources. Community and rural development. Family health and wellness. I've read recently that if you're still alive by the time you turn 80 years old, it's likely that you will become 100 because the medical technology has increased so much that people are living longer. Well, that's a wonderful thing to live a little longer, particularly if you can maintain your health. So what we eat is what we become. And 1890 land grant institutions are contributing to what we're becoming, a productive member of society and making our organizations move forward. The research and extensions are extensive. And we continue to make a difference as we make strides on how can we shorten the lifespan of animals that we produce to get from farm to table. How can we make certain that we monitor our food sources so that it is a healthy product, so that our 1890 land grant institution will get credit so that they deserve based on their research and their outreach. The integral roadmap includes these proposed pillars. The water resilience, as I mentioned before, student success and workforce development, because a lot of times students think about ag opportunities. They don't realize it's not just farming. There's ag economics. And so we need to be able to reach our students to get them to understand that you don't have to be a farmer to be connected with the ag system. There's other opportunities. And so it's important as an 1890 land grant institution that we teach these lessons and get it to people so that they understand. The science and resource strategies that we're trying to cultivate a scientific innovation is driving climate change solutions, balancing nutrition, security, and health. And what we're trying to do is to transform this country with our research, with our production, with our education, with our service, and making an impact on our students and the future of our country, particularly in Pine Bluff. The APLU has a decade-long vision associated with what they're going to help us with. And one of the pieces is about rural communities, the economically and environmentally healthy places to live. People in rural environments generally have a little shorter lifespan than those that have access to better health care. So your health care starts with what you eat. And so our research is helping those organizations move forward. And APLU every year has the annual meeting. The 1890 land grants are a part of that because we are part of the land grant organization. Now, of course, we got the 1862s there as well. But today we're talking about the 1890s, which represents us. In America, we're trying to find a better place and a better way of nutrition, diets, longer lifespans, and healthier lives. And that is what our mission is about here. Not just a little bit of each, but both and. This is important that this research is driving the health and welfare of our population. Here are some of the pillars and some of the 1890 strategies and some of those individuals that was on the agenda of the meeting that I attended. We're making a big difference. And you can see that in 2025, August of this year, a working draft to impact those individuals as a part of the society that we live in Arkansas is on that map that's being impacted. The 1890s exist in the South and on the East Coast. There aren't any on the West Coast. Understand that we're constantly thriving to improve the grants that we get, the scholarships, and this anniversary that we're about to approach 135 years, we're going to continue to grow and prosper. At this 135th anniversary exhibition, you can see that we're going to do a lot of things this year at the Library of Congress, the National Museum of African American History, and to promote the 1890 Land Grant Institution. National actions include having a social media presence, the 1890 Council testimony, public hearings that you saw early on in my presentation, op-eds from each of the 1890 presidents and or chancellors, 1890 universities and local national impacts to show what we are doing to help our society, that the value can truly be heard coast to coast, even though we exist mostly in the Southeast United States. Here are some things we can do on campus. Some days to represent and to celebrate 1890 Day. Local focused op-ed, social media presence. All of those things can bring greater attention to our 1890 Land Grant Institution and help drive us forward. Plan of action can include discussing with the foundation ways to get additional funding and establishing working groups at each of the 1890 Land Grant Institutions to oversee the campus actions. Now what about UAPB? 1890 Land Grant Universities. What we can do at UAPB is to be a part of this celebration, to be a part of the extension, the research, the outcomes, where they matter most. The building blocks for this transformation here at UAPB include some of these things that you see listed. Building and surviving UAPB's resources to create more funding opportunities to drive the mission of UAPB. To enroll and increase our retention and recruitment and our graduation throughput. Build the UAPB budget so that we can afford to pay for some of the things that we need. Clearly, there's some opportunities for infrastructure improvement here on this campus. I would use shared governance to help generate ideas so we can solve those problems together. And through the shared governance of both the faculty, the staff, and the student body, and the community at large, together we would find solutions to improve it, to bring us back to some of those good old day things that we talked about. And I have a relationship with the University of Arkansas system. I've been in the system for over 15 years. I've gotten lots of texts and congratulations, even though I haven't won anything, and encouraging words throughout people that still work at both the University of Arkansas Little Rock and the University of Arkansas Fayetteville campus. Some relationships that I built a long time ago, they're still there, and still maintained. If given an opportunity to serve with you all, I would start working 60 days prior to taking office. So not on day one, but 60 days prior. I reach out to the top 10 donors and make phone calls to those individuals prior to my arrival on campus. I would have telephone calls with the faculty and staff and the students separately to understand what the issues are. I've taken a lot of notes over the last 2 days I've been here. But I need to follow up on some of those things and try to figure out what can I do, hit the ground running when I arrive. Contact the Board of Trustees, particularly the individual that served in the meeting yesterday. He has a passion for this institution. And coming here as a part of the search process is a demonstration of that passion. My first 30 days when I arrived, what that's going to look like is me looking at the budget and the finances. Because if you can't afford it, guess what? You can't do it. So we need to get our arms, I need to get my arms around exactly what is our financial position. What can we afford and what we cannot afford. And then look you in the eye and be realistic and transparent and tell you no, yes, or wait. Because we might not be able to do everything that you want done today. I'm also going to spend some time speaking with the campus personnel and going through the departments, into the different units. Those meetings will not be held in the chancellor's conference room or office. Those meetings will be in those individual locations in the office. So I will get on my feet and then begin a chance to walk to those places to find out what are the issues in each one of your areas and how can we address some of those issues together. What problems do you have? So my meetings will be moved across the campus. So when a meeting is over, I then go spend time walking the halls, engaging with the individuals to try to figure out what can we do to help your particular area. Day 31 through 90. By this time, I'm looking at the strategic plan, looking at the Department of Higher Education, trying to figure out what is our position there. Are we meeting all the submission deadlines? Are there things that are not being done that we need to do here at UAPB? How can I help move this organization forward? Community engagement. I will start going out to spend some time in the local church. And I'm going to pick a church home. But I'm going to go to all the churches in the area. You know how when people running for office, you haven't seen them since they last ran for office. So I'm going to do a little bit of that. I'm going to have a church home, but maybe on every third Sunday, I'm going to go to a different church. And on the second Sunday, I go to a different one. Because it's important to connect with that community leadership there. And also the businesses in the area. Do we have partnerships with the local businesses? And if we do have some, can we grow the ones that we currently have? Can we make them bigger, better, and more engaged? To create internships for our students, cooperative education opportunities, and most importantly, funding opportunities and partnerships so that some of the buildings on this campus can get named with some of those corporate dollars. Try to align UAP's mission with transformational change. We'll try to make a big difference in these particular areas. The key word is alignment. To try to figure out what can we do to make sure we move this organization together in a positive transformational way. Our intent is to serve with you, not against you, to walk in your shoes, to learn and grow together and make a difference in the society that we're so cherished here in the Commonwealth area. Economic revenue generation. We need to figure out ways to create more streams of revenue. All monies are not created equal. You can't take grant dollars and spend it on something that the grant is not designed for. You need to generate some more auxiliary dollars so you got some flexibility there, and then you can transfer some of those auxiliary dollars to other particular areas. Sustainability of our future and energy. You heard me talk about the land grant pieces. Here are opportunities. Maybe we can generate some energy opportunities and we can reduce our cost. And not only that, maybe we'll be able to sell some of those electronic units back to the grid to help our campus become more sustainable and also generate some revenue. Time, talent, and treasure is what I'm going to give you. If I get an opportunity to serve here, part of my payroll check will be donated right back to the institution. We're going to work together to try to address some of those issues that you see on the screen, whether it's the bird flu, egg production, aquaculture, fisheries, or even the blue catfish issue that we're struggling with back on the east coast of the University of Maryland. We can collaborate where our deans of ag across these institutions can work together where we can solve problems together as a unified force. Key factors for thriving and surviving, and you can see them here listed, but these are the things that I think are important that will be the pillars of my opportunity to serve with you if given an opportunity to serve. Most recently, Senator Warnock out of Georgia came and presented, and he defended, this is very recent, at HBCU Day, about the placement and the reservation, reserving the fact that we don't want to lose our legislative liaisons that help us by 18 and 19. Those individuals' jobs were in jeopardy a few weeks ago when that letter from OMB went out. So Senator Warnock came before the body and spoke how important it was to keep those individuals employed. And it got reversed. That's what advocacy is. My time says 2:43. I beat the 2-minute window by just a little bit. It's not almost 2:45. This, I'll open it up for questions and answers. You can see there, that's a photo from the time when I served in the Arkansas Army National Guard. And I've aged a few days since that time, but I got out of the Guard in 2010. I got a lot more gray hair than I did. So now I've held to the time frame. I'm gonna take a little drink, and I may walk a little bit. Take this out. First question.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Mark, for joining us. My name is Chloe Brackens. I serve as the Student Government Association Chief of Staff. So I'm going to get straight to the point. So when we talk about retention, I know from personal experience that many students are transferring to other schools because the university has changed their coursework, disconnected certain majors, or it does not offer all required classes for certain majors. So how do you plan to address this issue and to fix it so the students stay with their intended majors, if that makes sense?
Well, thank you for the question. So first of all, let me just say that the successes I've had in the past was not just me. It was a choir, a team of people that were standing behind me that you can't see right now. The first thing is to gather some data so that I can understand exactly where are we, how many students are we losing, and what are we losing them for, and who are we losing them to, and then begin to turn to the students and figure out how can we solve some of those issues, right? To ask the people closest to the job, what is it we need to do to address these issues? The early alert systems that I've heard about, that we have those at other institutions as well. I mentioned to you in the last session, I was with the students before I came for this body, about how we've done some work associated with retention at other institutions. And I would cherry pick some of those strategies that would apply here. I can't necessarily use the exact model that I used at the University of Kentucky or the University of Arkansas and stick it in here and be expected to work exactly the same. Because every institution has its own culture. So as I began to gather that data and speak with individuals who can impact that retention and figure out how can we get more engaged students? Because when a student is engaged, he or she is retained. So we talked about that in the last session. You all weren't there, but let me tell you a little bit of the piece that we shared. Students that are involved in registered student organizations, about at least two, have a higher retention rate than those that are not involved at all. Student athletes nationwide graduate at a higher rate than non-student athletes. Now, I'm a fan of growing our athletic programs, but not necessarily providing additional scholarships to go to grow. There are some students that want to be a participant in the sport, but they may, I'm going to use these words, pay to play. They want to run track, but they may not be scholarship level to get a track scholarship. But they want to be on the team and they still are talented. And so we need to expand some of our athletic roles to help grow our student enrollment. And at the same time, remember, those students are going to have a higher GPA than non-athletes. Students that are involved in registered student organizations graduate at a higher rate, a shorter time, and have less debt when they leave the institution. So I need to turn to the individuals, figure out who is working on those things now. Hear all the voices, develop a plan, that is custom fit for UAPB, that has some elements of things that I've seen in other places, common reading, living learning communities, coordinating the syllabi, so that in week 5 you have a test, and then in week 7 y'all have a paper, then in week 8 y'all have a speech. And the paper, and the test, and the speech is on the same subject. But we've coordinated those syllabi so that we help you with your time management. And there's a common reading book as well. And then that is utilized as well, and you all are living and learning in the same community. Those are some of the elements, and you assign a faculty to oversee it, and also a student mentor to be a part of that core group. Those are pieces of an element that I have seen work, that I think are successful, but we have to cherry pick those pieces and use a community engagement solution finding answers to those things. Because just because I think it'll work, it may not, because the culture is different and times have changed. And we need to try to figure out how to do that. How do we address the mental health the crisis that we have? Students now are coming to us with more mental health issues than we had historically, or we didn't have the measurements in place to know that we had as much mental issues as we had historically. So now we must address some of those things. Students that have accommodations, are we adequately providing the right resources so they can be successful even with their accommodation? Having a signed FERPA document as a part of registration when they come to our campus, so we don't have to try to figure out every time a parent calls, is there a FERPA on file here? We can build it into the actual registration. So I know that I know every time I call a parent, there's a FERPA document on file. You know why? It's built into our registration system. So I don't have to figure out what am I going to say to the parent. I can openly talk to them about their student because they've already signed it when they signed up to do registration here. Those are some of the things that I think that can help move us in a positive direction. And so, Mr. Cameraman, are you going to be okay if I get off the stage? You can keep going? Okay, I'm sure. I don't want to get in trouble. And then only the top of my head is showing all the people at my school going, you can't send him nowhere. He done went up there. You see him? He done got off the camera. Yes, sir. You're an elected official. I remember. I got your card. What ward do you represent again, sir? 4. Yes, sir. This is 4. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can't have my mic, Steve. I was trying to give it to you, but they said, no, you're on the hot spot.
Thank you again for coming to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. 4th Ward, welcome.
Yes, sir. High technology, look at this. He had right on those guys on his phone.
Dr. Mack, I apologize. You need to project your voice more.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting texts from people online, the alumni trying to watch. So all of you, use your mic, project your voice louder into the mic.
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, it's a question I got for you.
Okay.
It's I want you to talk about student life and the dorm situation at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff and how you can improve in 1 year, first year, if you are. You hear me?
Yep, I heard you. All right. So, immediately, we have to do an assessment to figure out what can we afford, how much money do we have, and how much of that money that's available can be used for the repair and replacement and renovations of those residential halls. So in first year, that's a hard task in year 1. But you saw that what I would do 60 days prior is get my arms around that budget and then figure out how much available dollars do we have for the infrastructure replacements. Because I agree with you, that it needs to be done immediately. It's one of the things I noticed when I came to the campus early on, that there was a need for some renovations and repairs. There are some residential halls that are offline. I won't know the conditions, how bad those locations are until I spend some time going into them and getting insight, particularly from individuals that's done an assessment over prior, and what condition is it in today. And hopefully, we could do some repair and replacement in the summer of 2025 before the fall starts. That would be the short term. Can't build a residential hall in year one, but I would look into public-private partnerships to figure out if some of the land that we have, we could then partner with a company like Educational Realty Trust and or Campus Communities who could build a facility. Or we own the land, they own the building, and then the dollars that we receive from housing can help us pay the note on that building. And when that building note goes away in about 30 years or so, then we have the opportunity to buy that building back from the public-private partnership. That's what we did at the University of Kentucky at 8 different opportunities with residential halls on that particular campus. So I would try to mimic that because I don't think that you're sitting around with that many dollars in your account to be able to build a facility right away. We also would look at modular residential halls, right? They can be done a lot quicker and faster than complete construction from ground zero. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's sort of built like Legos, right? You just kind of bring in the pieces, and then it'll help the speed in terms of getting residential halls up fast. So those are things that I think that I would be able to do, and that's what I would do in year one. But that year one is short. You said before the fall. If I start on July 1, classes probably start August 20-some number, right? So you're talking about less than 60 days. The only thing I would probably be able to do inside those 60 days is to clean it, to paint it, you know, and to try to make it presentable so that we can get through to that particular fall semester, and then try to do the same thing over the Christmas break.
What I'm saying is, you already have a team already in place. They should have the paperwork already ready.
Yes, sir.
So when you get here, you have to go, the paperwork to increase the campus should already be in motion.
Yes, sir.
If not, we need to find out why.
I agree with you. I think there's a person with their hand up in the back, far, far back. Sorry, here we go.
Can you take more time to discuss slide 33?
Slide 33. The key factors of survival and survive and thrive. Residential halls offline, that's what I mentioned before. You can see that the repair and renovations. And I was just concerned about some of the deferred maintenance when I came to the campus and I started looking around. Marketing and design. So we need to be able to drive more students to our campus as we recruit and try to retain students and get more. So students live in social media land. So we need to be able to try to get those individuals by having a larger presence in social media. Some of the dollars addressing student balances. So I know that, I shouldn't say I know exactly, but I understand that some students have balances they owe to the institution. We need to address that. We need to come up with a strategy to kind of figure out how much is too much and how much balance can we allow us to have students on the books and to continue to re-enroll even though they have debt to the institution. We need to try to figure out what's the right answer for that. What can we afford and how can we close those gaps? Lack of student activities. So to try to energize campus life. So when I talked to some students when I was here in December, they said, Dr. Mack, there's nothing, they called me Dr. Mack, because they didn't know my name was Mack. They said, well, there's nothing to do on campus. Campus used to be alive. We need to have more things to do. I don't know exactly what those activities need to be, but I know you need to ask the students to ask them what do they want and how can we reach them. We might not be able to do exactly what they want. We might be able to get closer to what they want or to make some progress toward what they want. Enrollment, retention, and low completion rates. And so, yeah, that's one of the things, that's the throughput I was talking about before, about graduation rates, right? And that enrollment and retention are key, but also, we don't just need them to enroll and to retain them, but we also need them to graduate. We need them to complete so that they can get an educational degree and then earn more money. I have a presentation that I roll into one of the classes that I teach, and I usually teach one class a year. I've always stayed active in the classroom. But one of the pieces of that class is sort of trying to get the students to understand that the more you learn, the more you earn. That's the title of the presentation. And it's very clear that the more education you get, the more your earnings are going to go up. Yes, even when you include entertainers. When you look at the data across all earners in the United States, and you include the LeBron Jameses of the world, and the singers, and the Kendrick Lamars, and Drake, and whoever else that are performing that may or may not have a degree, when you include them with everybody else, the data is robust. That a person with a high school education will earn here, a person with some college will earn there, a person with a 2-year degree will earn there, a person with a bachelor's will earn there. And they're less likely to be unemployed. So you not only will earn more when you learn more, but you're also more likely to stay employed. And so that learn to earn is a vital aspect of what I try to get across to students. The social media. So in social media, there's some non-positive stuff that's floating out there that I see students say about each other and or to the institution. Students live in social media land. We need to have a strategy to try to put positive things in social media to get our students to say positive stuff about our campus so that then we have more pride than we have today. So that Golden Lion Nation can be proud about the things that we're saying about future Golden Lions and the current Golden Lions. So that's why social media is very important. Morale, that's a piece that I heard today. That, we need to increase the morale. And I agree with you. We need to try to figure out how can we work with the willing first and try to get that enthusiasm, that good old Golden Lion spirit that we once had, to come back. But I don't have all of those answers. What I do have is an opportunity where we can have a discussion, a dialogue, where we can solve problems together to see if we can address some of those issues. Customer service. It's like I wrote this after I did my interview today, but I wrote this before because this is what I heard throughout my research. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I said earlier. Unfortunately, sometimes the students of today are not very respectful of people that are older than them in a professional environment. And then it puts our people on guard and feel some kind of way about how they're being spoken to by students. And so then we have to have a thicker skin and being able to smile when we may not feel like smiling, to be a customer, to be customer friendly, to be engaged, to help us solve some of those issues. Because you may not believe this, but we need those students. Without them, there would be no us. So we've got to figure out how do we reach those students, even if they may not be doing the things that we wish that they would. Perry's trying to get my attention.
Give me just a brief moment. I want to update this room. We have 230 people online. I want us to get to a lot more questions, so I'm helping you, Dr. Mark, because you're not aware of this.
Yes, sir.
So there are a number of questions in the chat box. Let's try to get to as many of them as possible. Let's silence your phones so that they can't hear all of that. That would be very helpful for our people online. So please, let's take some of the questions out of the chat box.
Okay. So
Thank you.
I will go move on off of slide 33. I've been pushed forward. Okay. I followed directions just like I did when I was in the military. Sir, yes, sir. I have no idea what my questions are. Who?
While you're waiting for that,
Yes, sir.
I have one, and I can talk loud so people can hear me.
I think they need the mic so that they can hear you.
Can we stick to the order? We have our mayor right here that was first before you, then I'm going to come to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put two questions together.
Okay.
The first one is about the relationship between the university and the city of Pine Bluff. Where do you see opportunities, if you've thought about that, and how significant do you think that is to the university's growth and success? And then secondly, you mentioned your relationship with the UA system And one thing that I know for sure is that the politics of this state, whether at the legislature or in the system, impact the university in many ways. And there has been a huge shift in 15 years for sure in the governor's mansion, in the legislature, and certainly at UA system. So what are your thoughts about what kinds of things that you would bring to governmental relations, and also just to the relationship with UA system as it relates to the massive underfunding issue?
So the first piece is, I'm going to use a terminology that was in the higher ed curriculum when I was pursuing my doctorate degree, and that is town gown. The town gown relationship, they work together. They have to coexist. And so it's important that as the chancellor, that the person is engaged with the local community, that he or she attends the meetings with the alderman, with the county commissioners, with the mayor's office, that he or she is connected with what is happening locally to help understand, can we get better policing or better relationship with our campus. And it's not just happening during homecoming or as we build up to homecoming, but it's a year-round relationship that's going to continue throughout the time that we work together. Because so as UAPB goes, so does Pine Bluff. So they can grow together, right? And so that's the intent, is to have a strong town gown relationship. And you do that by serving on the local boards or going to the local meetings, and going to the Masonic Lodge when they have their meetings, going to the Chamber of Commerce, and going out and introducing yourself to the entrepreneurs and inviting those individuals to the campus when there is a career fair or other events. And you build a town gown relationship on some authenticity, meaning that you're trying to do the best you can to put the best foot forward for your campus, and because we are a part of the community, hence the town gown. Now, the UA system. So again, 15 years having served in the University of Arkansas system. And even though I haven't worked in the system since 2010, I still have worked with the system because I've done training with Arkansas Criminal Justice Institute, which is located in Little Rock. It's one of the centers that's a part of the UA system that's not a campus that produces degrees. That's what brought me to the campus the last time in December, and will bring me back to the campus if selected in April, so I can follow through and see how are we doing as we're transitioning if selected. If not selected, I'll be in Little Rock, and I'll stay in Little Rock, honestly. But the point is, my relationship with Arkansas system, I think, is strong enough, long enough, and deep-rooted enough that I can try to figure out a way that we can work together, because I understand the politics of this place. I'm also proud to understand that the governor is from Pine Bluff. So I think that she has a special place in her heart for this place. And so we can try to figure out, what can we do to make the place that she is from better than it is today? So I'm hoping that that would open up that opportunity. Every Friday in Maryland, when we're in session, myself and a government liaison person and the president of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore sit in on the legislative sessions with the Lower Eastern Shore delegates. And so I see them every Friday, during session, every Friday, either virtually or face-to-face. And we do that so we can build better relationship, so that when there is funding opportunities, that they don't forget about the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I think some of those same strategies could work at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, regardless of what the politics are. At the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, we're one of the few campuses in the system that is bipartisan. And we have both sides of the political spectrum that represents the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And so I will try to do the same thing here at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. 230 questions online, that's a lot.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mark.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Barry Williams, and I'm currently a graduating senior major in computer science. And specifically in my own area, which I'm assuming across some other areas of school, The university has added several programs recently that have made us a more competitive university. But in that same aspect, there was not necessarily a proportional increase in the amount of professors here. So it's led to necessarily programs and classes that can't be offered. And the old programs now have our teachers now stretched out because they're now trying to also teach these classes, these new programs, which, as you know, they can reduce the amount of effort they can put into classes, which of course can reduce students' performance in the class as well as what we take from their class. So the question in that is, do you have a general plan for making the university not only more marketable to students, but also more marketable to new professors?
So the short answer to your question is I don't have an easy answer, but I do have some thoughts on it. And so the piece, what we have to do is try to figure out what is the right course mix management for the faculty that we have who can offer these courses. Because it sounds like we may have too many courses and not enough faculty to spread amongst those courses. I don't know until I see the data. But also, even when I see the data, I need to talk to the individuals who are managing those areas, the deans, the provost, the vice chancellor for academic affairs, to figure out what are their thoughts, how do we get to where we are, and what solutions do they have? And then most importantly, talk to the students. Who are the students that are waiting on these classes that we don't have enough sections taught for? How do we get them through this? We don't want to extend your time at UAPB. We want to get you through the door as fast as possible because it reduces your student debt load. And it increases your probability to graduation because you're here for a short amount of time. And you get a chance to graduate sooner so you can start giving money back to UAPB. You can become a donor, see? And so the idea is to try to figure out a solution to address those. But just like I told you early on in this presentation, that I'm going to be transparent. And the transparent answer to your question is, I don't know. But we can work on a solution together with all those problems brought to the table, with all those voices, and develop a strategy and plan that we can address. And then track our strategy after we've done it to see are we hitting those key performance indicators. How many students did we get through the door? How many people still need courses before they can graduate? So it's not just enough to put the plan in action and stand back, but you have to follow through to make certain it's being executed. And the only way you can do that is you revisit it on a regular basis. Track those numbers, talk to those people, see if the plan is actually delivering what we intended it to. $244. My popularity is going up.
This is going to be our last question in person before we move online.
Okay, all right. Okay, no problem.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mark.
Good afternoon, sir.
You did an outstanding job in outlining the role of the 1890 land-grant universities, and you're also attached to HBCU. So what I would like for you to do, a lot of times I hear people throw around HBCU, we're an HBCU. Would you compare and contrast the 1890 land-grant institutions with other HBCUs? I think there was 100 plus now. So including the 19
special.
Right. Compare and contrast those for us because that's extremely, extremely important.
Some of the other ones that are not 1890 institutions are private institutions. The 1890s are all public, of course. And because they're private, they sort of fall under a different set of rules and regulations. So for example, when you're an 1890 land-grant institution, we get funding from the Thurgood Marshall Foundation, right? But if you're one of the privates, that's not the 1890, but a private one, you now get it from the United Negro College Fund. Now see, when you see the commercials about those things, students might not know the difference between those things. And so that's one of the big differences between those. One is getting money from Thurgood Marshall, the other one is getting from the United Way College Fund. And so those are some of the pieces. Some of the other differences often is some of the private ones were also church affiliated. So Philander Smith College, for example, right? And so there's some Methodist institutions and they're related with religion. So some of those have that sort of part of their background and tied to the church And the church will give funding to those institutions as well. And oftentimes the 1890s don't have that same opportunity. So that's some of the difference between the 1890 land grant public institutions and some of the privates, and some of the funding, and some of the church affiliations. Thank you for the compliment.
All right, we're going to move to a couple online questions. The first question, it says, what strategic steps will you take to ensure the long-term sustainability and success of UAPB athletics in this shifting landscape?
So, athletics, of course, changed dramatically, and it is quite different than what it used to be a few years ago. So I was athletic director at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Interim athletic director at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, while we were trying to recruit and hire a new athletic director, which we did. Wonderful young lady. She's vice president for athletics and recreational sports at our campus, and so we're very fortunate to have. But the big different thing that has changed is the NIL, name, image, and likeness. And that came about while I was serving my interim role. And so very different than what we historically had been with just scholarships. Now we start trying to figure out, how do we pay students to come to the institution? Because they are getting literally payments, like money, salaries, right? And so the idea is to try to figure out, can we find corporate sponsors that can help us pay to recruit some of those students that we historically wouldn't have been able to acquire? Because now, oftentimes, they're going to go to some place that can provide that payment. So, of course, the large SWAC example of this, right, was Jackson State and Deion Sanders, right, and his son, right? And so it makes a big, and Hunter, who became the Heisman Trophy winner when they moved to Colorado, right? And so you saw on social media, I think that Deion's sons bought him a house with multi-millions of dollars, and they ain't not even in the pros yet, right? So it's changed. So we need to try to figure out, what is the dollar amount level so that we can then compete at that level or at a lower financial level than what we have historically. Because it's very different than us. We haven't been doing that historically. Sort of paying people as student athletes to come. And I can tell you one of the big pitfalls, and so the answer to the question is to try to get corporate sponsors. I want to make sure I answer the question. That was the question. One of the pitfalls is this. A student athlete is playing football or basketball. Those are the revenue generating sports, usually. And we get a corporate sponsor, I'm going to make up a place, with Tyson, and they're able, or Simmons Bank, and they pay a student, I'm making up a number now, $50,000 or $80,000 to play football at UAPB, okay? There are people that work on the campus that don't make $80,000 or $50,000. So right there, we got a whole issue with socioeconomic wealth and value, particularly if the student has a little bit of attitude. Now that he or she is making $80,000, but he or she is coming to get advised on some classwork. That sometimes can impact the actual interaction dynamic between the professional who is a degreed individual who has a job title work and sits on the other side of the glass with the student athlete on the other side. But he's driving a car that might be nicer than yours. That's a real thing that we have to start thinking about, how we're going to manage those things. But the answer to the question is corporate sponsorship, because that's the only way we're going to be able to afford it.
You have a question from P.T. Jackson. How are you going to assess and review staffing campus-wide to make sure that we have the right people in place to move forward with the mission?
Okay. So a couple of things. I have to spend some time with the individuals who are in those roles on the campus. So I got to put eyes on individuals in areas. I can't just trust what my immediate leadership team tells me, right? Because one of the things that's true with individuals, we oftentimes feel the need to make our areas that we manage sound a little bit better than it may be. You with me? So I need to now go check and verify that what I am hearing about a particular area is backed up with actual on-eyesight operational time so I can see it and evaluate it myself. It's only natural to talk about one's area in a positive way, about all the successes. But do we also try to look at ourselves in the mirror and be honest about what areas do we need some help in? What areas of opportunity do we have? And when we keep hearing issues that keep arising that are repeated over and over on rinse and repeat, there might be some truth there. And there might be some fire behind that smoke I see. And now we need to start holding people accountable for what those issues are in that area. Very difficult to do, but necessary. Very necessary. So I'll tell you, well, I won't tell you the story. I'll let next question because y'all got 240 people online. Tiki, did you get your question answered? You sitting down now. Don't forget to answer your question. I haven't forgotten about you.
Dr. Mack, we do have a lot of alums and even the president of the Alumni Association online. There is a question, how will you engage and bolster alumni to support the university?
Yeah. So what I will attempt to do is to go visit each alumni association wherever they are located in their city. So there's one in Chicago, you got one in Atlanta, one in Little Rock. I try to make certain that I attend at least one of their meetings so that they get FaceTime with me, so that they can understand that I value their input so much so that I've traveled to their location. And so I don't have to wait till they show up to homecoming. And then we have the big meeting and the presentation, and then I hear what they got to say. They need to physically see me, physically be in their presence. And so I would be hopeful that because I'm physically in their presence and I'm physically attending their meetings and I've flown to Chicago and I've gone to Atlanta and I've gone to Detroit and I've gone to Little Rock, that then they'll say, you know what? He is trying to listen to what we're saying. He cares. What's the old saying? Students don't care how much you know until you know how much you care. That's the whole point, is to live that example. And I'm hoping that that would get alumni more engaged and then therefore give more money to the University of Arkansas. Hopefully.
You mentioned athletics, and there was a question in the chat regarding what you would do. I'm looking for the exact question, but it has to do with the track and field, completing that particular project. But it has to do with completion of that particular project, the track and field soccer as well.
So I learned that, I didn't see that when I did my drive-through here, but I learned that when I was here, that there's an opportunity, there's a need to repair, to fix the track that sort of stopped or something. You didn't get full completion?
Launch it to, or redesign it.
Or redesign it. Yes. So again, the first thing I'm gonna do is to try to figure out where does that project stand? What is the shortfall of money? And where can we prioritize the money to be able to address it? Because everything can't get done immediately. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Everything can't get done immediately. We got to figure out how much money we have to apply to these things. And your question about the residential halls, that may be fighting for the same dollars as athletics. And so I got to make a decision. I might not be able to do both. I might not be able to do the athletic track field and do the residential halls before the students start here in August, right? And so I got to try to figure out which one of those is the priority that we're going to address. Or I heard the fine arts building needs repair too, that it never got to full repair. The student, she's not here right now, but she was telling me there's a canopy that's hanging over a particular area where the students hang out, that we need to just remove that canopy. Those are low-hanging things that I think I can address. But that particular piece is, it depends on how much it is, and how does that priority stack up with the other issue of the residential homes.
Here's another great question, I think, from Kitty Jackson. At a time where so many things are being cut federally, what plan would you create for students who are attending school using the GI Bill, rehab services, or even Title III funds?
So if we have cuts like we were concerned about a few weeks ago when that letter from OMB came out, Office of Management and Budget, when that came out, on my campus, we halted for a moment because we had like a 48-hour window where we were told to halt all activities. So we have Title III on our campus too. So we had to stop. And then about 48 hours later on, it was kind of reversed and it freed it up. But if the monies were to go away, that's what the question is talking about. If they were to go away, if they were reduced, we need to try to figure out ways that we can raise the money so that we can backfill those needed opportunities. Just because the funding got cut doesn't mean that the need got cut. The need is still there. So it is my job and others to raise money to fill that need. That's what I would try to do.
I'm not sure if this one was already asked, but how are you going to assess and review staffing campus-wide? You did ask that already. Okay, thank you so much. All right. All right.
I had a question.
Mr. Williams.
My question.
Tiki, you finally got in there.
Tiki, Director for Youth Development. My question was partially answered. It had to do with the alumni. A lot of times with recruitment, they're saying, we are an institution for first generation, low income college students. And I'm like, what about your alumni? Don't you want your alumni to send students here? So can we focus more on saying that we're for our alumni and first generation? Because, you know, I would feel kind of ostracized and say, okay, we're for first generation low income students. Hey, but I'm an alumni, I'm president of this, I'm doing this. We want our alumni to be engaged. So how would you feel about a training program for alumni? You know, you're going out engaging in a training program. So when there's recruitment events in their areas, our recruiters can't get there. You have alumni on standby, ready, engaged to recruit in their areas.
Tiki, that's a great question. And let me just tell you, I got to give credit, and I hope he's watching me online, but the guy that works for us at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Dr. Isom, is great at that. He developed an entire training program for our alums throughout the country and sent them materials after having the training program in place. And then those individuals can then recruit for us throughout the entire country, wherever our alumni are located. And he did a wonderful job of that. So I personally can't take credit for that. He did that. He's a part of the choir that you can't see standing behind me. He did that. It was just tremendous. And I think that we could do that here at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. But I'm telling you, I would call him and say, how exactly did you execute these things? Because Tiki asked that question, and I gave you credit for it because he's the one who did it, right? We all benefited from it, enrollment going up because of that, and the alumni felt very engaged and very proud of their contributions. But I'm being honest, he's the one that developed that. And so, Dr. Isom, congratulations to you wherever you are out there in social media land. Absolutely. But I do think that's a good strategy. Very good strategy. Just checking it out.
Good afternoon. Courtney Jackson with the Student Union. Just a quick question. COVID, of course, taught us a whole lot. And of course, I've done a little research with some other HBCUs, and I saw, in particular, Kentucky State University. Right now, they're offering 17 online courses, or online degree programs online. Would you, if you're afforded the opportunity to be the next chancellor at the institution, would you open the door to research with offering more hybrid classes and online classes for the students in which we serve, which would also in turn help us with enrollment, because it's kind of like it's a two-way street. You know, we know that enrollment is is what's affecting us now, low enrollment. But when you look at Kentucky State and several other schools, they offered more of these courses, hybrid and online, and of course, more online degrees. Would you be open to that as well?
So again, as I told you all earlier, I'm going to answer a quick question. The answer is yes, and let me tell you why. So first of all, online education, in my opinion, is not equal to face-to-face education. It's not equal to that. We count the credit the same, we give the degree the same, but the reality of it, to me, it is a lesser form of education, okay? But it is necessary in today's culture and society. We have to be and both. You can't do one or the other. We need to do both of them. Because online education is here to stay. And it would be disingenuous of me or us to think that we're only going to be a face-to-face organization. We have to be present in that online environment to grow the enrollment also. And online education is a low-cost delivery method because the students are not physically here. And as a result of that, it generates more revenue for the campus. So we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We need the online education. We need to grow those opportunities, those hybrid opportunities as well, and the face-to-face. We need both of those things. Also, concurrent enrollment. The current governor, a part of her vision is that there is more concurrent enrollment. We need to be more engaged in that. And we're starting it here with some of the local high schools. I heard about it when I was here. And so we need to do more of that. So a student that is a junior in high school is co-enrolled at UAPB at the same time they're in high school. And then that can help our enrollment and potentially get that student, when they get done with high school, to physically come to UAPB. When I was teaching at the University of Arkansas Little Rock, I used to teach 5 sections per semester. One of my sections was a communications class with Hall High School. So I left the campus, drove to Hall High School, and co-taught the communications class with the Hall High School teacher there in Little Rock. The students earned college credit for that. I got back in my car, drove back to UALR, and went about teaching my other 4 classes that was face-to-face. So we had the concurrent piece going on at the same time that we had the face-to-face piece going on. It was important to do that. I'm looking at my time. It is 3:30, and where is Perry? So I just want to make sure I don't get dinged. He talked over about 22 seconds, take points off.
Okay. My name is Sadie Hughes, and I'm a 1982 graduate of the university.
Okay.
And I'd like to know, what is your most significant accomplishment in your current role at Eastern Maryland? What made you focus on that problem, and what measures that you put in place, and what was the outcome?
So, I got a question similar to this earlier. And the natural thing is to think about, facilities that got built. My contribution with the new pharmacy building that we're doing. I only contributed a little bit to it. To be honest, there should be a team behind it. Or getting a new pharmacy program, physician assistance program that we brought back to the campus and how we make that happen. But I think the most significant thing is the number of students that I have helped get across the graduation stage when they are resisting me. They are doing everything they can not to graduate, but I'm dragging them across the finish line against their own will because I know how important it is for that educational achievement to happen. It changes multiple generations. When they get that degree, they're more likely to vote, they're more likely to do service, they're going to earn more money, and they're going to impact multiple generations of people in their family who are looking up to them. I have put that on rinse and repeat. I think that is my greatest accomplishment, is dragging those people. Again, Not the ones who trying to come across. I'm dragging some of those across who trying to drop out of school. Who trying to figure out a way, this ain't for me, this is too much. No, it ain't. Let me show you how you can be successful. Come see me 3 times a week so we can sit down and talk about what your issues are so I can get you across the stage. It is that important. Because your literal life quality will be higher if you accomplish that 4-year degree. And I put that on rinse and repeat, not just at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, but in my previous careers as well, over the 30 years in higher education. Yes, sir. I have no idea what question. I don't want to tell someone they should speak and they're not the one who should be next.
Hello. My name is David Peary, Senior Class President. And I had a question. What do you think HBCUs need to do to stay relevant in a time where more black students are choosing PWIs lives?
So I think that HBCUs are already relevant and will continue to be relevant. So I don't know if they need to do anything particular different than what we have has been very, very successful. We had a vice president of the United States that is an HBCU graduate. Right? So we got many individuals that have reached high levels of achievement in this country as a result of attending the HBCU. So I don't think that we need to do anything new to make them relevant. We have always been relevant. We just need to be able to talk about it louder, particularly in social media, in a positive way, so that the world can understand how relevant we are and how significant we are in the contributions that we have made and the strides that we made that help drive this country to be better than it was before. So I don't know if there's anything new. We just need to market it and sell it a little bit better than what we have. According to Perry, that it? Is there one more?
We have one more question.
One more,
we have one more question from Professor Brooks, and then we'll allow one more question to come from online. I do think you will have time to talk to Dr. Mack personally after.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll be right down there.
Dr. Mack, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir.
I guess my question kind of piggybacks on David's question, and I asked it in the chat, but it was my wife's account, so it came up as our big. HBCUs are about space. They're about the place. In Arkansas, we're the only public HBCU, and given the events over the last 8 to 10 years or so, what is your vision for UAPB as a destination in the state of Arkansas? I mean, I know you talk about the 18, I see you latching on to the 1890 mission, which I absolutely agree with, and how we become the destination, or a serious destination in the state of Arkansas. What do we double down on? What do we try not to be? And how do we project that identity to the rest of the state?
The reason I focused on the 1890 piece because it was a part of the official question that they gave me. And I wanted to make sure I did the homework, which is to do what they asked me to do. So I made sure I addressed it back. So the vision is this. University of Arkansas Pine Bluff become a top 20 HBCU by growing the enrollment, increasing the retention, and the graduation rate, which is the throughput. Increase the funding that we get to this institution so we can accomplish those goals so that we can make certain that the students have a good experience while here on campus. So that's raising more money. And then third, fixing the infrastructure. That is the vision. When those things happen, I believe that we will then go to the top 20 of HBCUs. And then that is when we can celebrate that step on the journey, because we won't stop there. But the vision is to get to the top 20. You and I both got more gray hair than what we had last time I saw you.
We'll take this last question coming from online from Jeremy Windsor. And you probably already touched on this a little bit, but if you could just elaborate. Can you share with us one of your immediate actions to grow enrollment and increase annual giving to the institution?
So I'll do the last part, the increased giving. I will go to the Alumni Association and ask them, how many members do we have that are contributing to the institution, to get some sense of what the contributions are? Because I don't want to ask for something that's already been achieved. So the idea is to get more people giving $1 I just want you to give $1. If you're giving nothing now, I want you to give $1. We can work on getting you to tithe later. Y'all know what tithing is. Y'all are going to go to heaven. I just want you to give $1. I want you to get into the habit of giving $1. Just $1 a month, $12 a year. So that the percentage of giving will go up. That's one of the metrics that is used that will help our rankings. Just $1 a year. And what I'm hoping happen after that, we build some momentum. I can show the alumni what the numbers are and how we've increased. And then when the percentage of givers going up, the dollar amount will follow. Action steps to get the enrollment up immediately is to first try to save those people that is close to graduation. Go look at the data and see how many students do we have that are at 90 credit hours or above that have stopped out at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're that close to the door. Let's go reel those individuals in to get them across the graduation stage. Let's go find out how many people are close to that 6-year graduation rate, because that's when they drop off the counting list. We need to make sure we drag them across the finish line too. It may get us a bump in our throughput because the numbers are so small, right? And so I'll try to do those two particular things to get them people finishing those degrees, but also to help our enrollment together. And what hopefully the repairs I can make, or we can make this summer, may make the residential halls a little bit more livable, a little bit more pleasant, a little bit more pleasing, so the student satisfaction will not be lower, but increase when they're on our campus. I would like to take this last opportunity to say thank you for letting me serve with you today. And he is right. I will be available for answering questions afterwards. I'm going to do just like church. I'm going to stand at the back door and shake hands to each one of you all as you all leave, and I will stay here as long as you got questions. Clap for me like you care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mack. You've certainly helped us to kick off this amazing historical opportunity. Give yourselves a big hand because you helped also to make this possible. I would be remiss if I did not take time to acknowledge the search committee and the hard work that they did to bring us to this point. Mr. Perry Stuckey, who is here, and any members of the search committee that are here, would you please stand and be recognized at this time? Thank you so very, very much. Also, we want to acknowledge the UAPB-AMNN National Alumni Association. I mentioned the president, Tanisha Thompson. Many were online. Chapter presidents from across the country were online as well, and locally. Dr. Mary Liddell, president of the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Alumni Chapter, made her presence known. Pulaski County Alumni Chapter, Ardron Jones, I believe, was here, but he's left from part of the Alumni Chapter in Pulaski County, and also board members of the Alumni Association are present or have been present online. So please give them a hand and show them appreciation too. Thank you for the audio-visual assistants, Richard Breedis, who's been with us 36 years, I found out last week. We were working together on our project, so thank you for all your hard work, Mr. Randy Kelly. I don't know how many years you've been here, but we've had some dedicated and devoted staff members, and that's why I say UAPB is like family, because certainly there are many dedicated staff members who have continued to work here. We want to remind you there is an evaluation, a survey that you can take regarding today. You can give your opinion of how this session went and even your thoughts on Dr. Mack. You can do that. There is a QR code that's currently showing on each projection screen. I believe I saw a link that was sent to staff members, so many of us saw that in our email, but certainly take time to scan in with your phone that QR code so that you can give some input and respond via the survey. I know our mayor was here. She asked a great question. Thank you. We acknowledged our elected officials earlier, so we're happy to have our newly elected mayor Vivian Flowers here. In the chat, I saw a new chancellor and a new mayor for Pine Bluff. Sounds like a great combination, so I want to acknowledge that could very well, it is about to unfold. Someone asked about homecoming and hotel rates. That's for a whole nother conversation, Mayor. They want to know why is everything so high when homecoming comes. That's not relative to UAPB necessarily, but that question came up in the chat and it comes up every year. If there's nothing else, and if all minds and hearts are clear, we've almost had a benediction. We certainly will be greeted, and we thank Dr. Mack once again. Ms. Fenford, is there anything? Any comment?
They can do the survey. It's under Dr. Mack's page, under the chancellor search. So if you announce it so that people online.
Okay, yes, thank you. Under the chancellor search, those of you that are online, you can also take part in the survey. We would definitely love for you to give your input. If you'll look, you said it is located on the chancellor's page.
Chancellor search section under Dr. Mack's page.
Okay, the chancellor search section under Dr. Mack's page. The chancellor search section under Dr. Mack's page. Please go there and please complete the survey there as well. Your input is needed and appreciated in advance. And finally, I forgot to tell you who I am. I'm Kim Jones-Sneed. I'm part of the Office of Communications here at UAPB Institutional Advancement. I love UAPB. I was with the Alumni Association for 6 years, and I recently returned back to the university campus because Dr. Mack, I love UAPB. And so I'm grateful to be here and to facilitate, and I'll be joining you on tomorrow at 2 o'clock for our next candidate, our finalist for Chancellor of the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, stay warm, take care, and until we meet again, thank you again.